Hello, hello. We are going to be talking about the model minority myth today. And I have two guests who are actually two friends of mine. We are all Vietnamese American, and we are going to be talking about the model minority myth, which I'm sure a lot of folks have heard of before or might not really know on a deep level what it is. So we're going to try to deconstruct that today, talk about the history of that and stereotypes and our own experiences. So,
Okay, yeah. My name is Khan. Khanh. Not Khanh, Khanh. He pronouns, and I am actually an immigrant from Vietnam. I was born in Saigon, raised in Saigon, moved to the U.S. 16, and my entire family is still in Vietnam. I came here for community college, and I've been in since. So it's been almost 10 years now. It's very wild to me.
Hi guys, my name is Sharon Nguyen. I go by she her pronouns. I grew up was born in the Bay Area, California, where a lot of Vietnamese immigrants from the war ended up settling at and grew up there until I was 17 years old. And then my family, we all moved to Florida for a year or two, and I've since then have moved to where I'm at right now, which is around Seattle, Washington. Um, and I also am a queer. Identify as queer as well. Yeah, I think that's all I can say about my identity.
you are now listening to Highline's newest social justice podcast, Safer Sound. In this radio show, we will open our minds and our hearts to new perspectives and new people. Let's explore together the meaning of creating true, safe spaces in the Puget Sound and our local areas, especially through a transformative justice lens. Transformative justice is all about getting to the root of the systemic issues that continue to threaten the safety of our communities, not just physical, but also psychological and emotional safety. We want to see a more safe and more harmonious future for everyone in the Puget Sound region. Shout out to the Highline Heritage Museum for serving as our home base, and to One America 106.5 Low Power FM for offering this beautiful and unique space for us to have this show. We also want to give a shout out to Washington State Historical Society for sponsoring and making this show possible. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Tian Van, and I'm so excited to talk with you.
So my aunt, she didn't move to the US, but she moved to Japan after she got married to, so her husband is also Vietnamese. So they both got married in Vietnam and then they moved to Japan. And
Yeah.
she's been in Japan for a while. My cousins are both from Japan. And she visits home very often, like every year or so. And when she talks, she still use these older words. Let me think specific word. If I can come up with a specific word, I'll tell you. But just like blanking. But yeah, she uses those words, and then we've actually had a conversation where she I've had people tell me that nobody uses it anymore. I'm like, yeah, we will language the Vietnamese evolves so fast. There are plenty of words that younger people in Vietnam, like people who are younger than me, they use now that I don't even understand. Like, and I go back home. I visit home every year, and I still like because of social media, because of the culture there, just like the language evolves so fast, and so because of I feel like because of this like the way that the language evolves and the way that people's like ideas and like perspective evolves, there's this like you know there's this disconnect between Vietnamese people who moved to the US a long time ago and Vietnamese people in the homeland, even though they're both from Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. There's definitely that's an important distinction to make when we're talking about the Asian American identity and how diverse and varied it is. Like even we're just talking about even just within Vietnamese people. It's not
Mhm.
even other types of Asians. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do have to say that the model minority myth it exists everywhere.
Mm.
Yeah, like Vietnam, a lot of friends who, I school friends, my middle school friends were in the world now, but I follow them and stuff, and I talk to them sometimes, and I've heard a lot of people like supporting the model minority myth, which is very, very unfortunate. Um, especially,
Mm.
I think, especially because Vietnam is a homogenous country. There, you don't really see black and brown people in Vietnam unless they move there for work or
Right.
something like that. And racism and anti-blackness is just it's so present in the Vietnamese like society. And so because of that, I feel like people really do believe in the in the model minority myth, which is like it's just so unfortunate. I had this housemate. I lived in this house for 4 years it was in Northgate. But anyways, this person, he I think he's a not software, he's a mechanical engineer. He's an engineer of some kind. Um, he's from Saigon, and we've had many, many conversations where he would just say, you see the black community? They
Oh,
are always they like directly saying that he's directly attacking the black community, and talking about how their behavior and their level of education is not good in a way, not as fans, I guess,
oh my God.
compared to that of the Asian community. And I remember saying this specifically verbatim. Do you see us Asians? We don't complain, we don't fight, we just work hard.
Literally.
Verbatim. And I was so upset. But unfortunately, a lot of people, especially people in Vietnam, still think that way because of how because of just like the racism and anti-blackness.
Wow. It's so interesting to me how, in a way, they think because they think they benefit from it, they try to use it to their advantage. And I've totally seen that as well. And that makes sense within the context of whiteness and capitalism, because if you can keep us separated and keep us in fear of each other, then it's easier to keep us from, yeah, organizing and coming together.
Yeah, it
And
makes it easier for them to exploit us for our labor.
mm,
That's all I had to say on that. Sorry, I was one added. But yeah, I get to also add to what Khan was saying, like, I remember during 2020, during the Black Lives Matter movement and the George Floyd protests, I definitely was, because it was a pandemic, I was definitely chronically online. And I was like trying to get an understanding of like what is going on with the world, you know? And of course, being on social media, like I don't know if you guys know this Facebook group called Subtle Asian Traits.
yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
yes, I know what you're talking about.
It was giving very much anti-black. There was a lot of
Yeah.
commentary across different platforms, but I just
Oh
want
yeah,
to
they'd be
I want to
homophobic in there too.
yeah,
Mhm.
transphobic, all the isms, right? But I want to specifically highlight subtle Asian traits, this Facebook group. And for those that people that might not know about it, it started off as like a sort of like a meme group to unify Asian people together.
Mhm.
Uh it's I feel like it's a very interesting uh reflection of the model minority myth, because more often than not, most of the representation of like the posts that were being made were in the perspective of East Asians, right? Of those stereotypes of like, oh, the tiger mom, the oh, you gotta be this, you gotta be a
Yeah.
doctor, you gotta be this. And so I mean, as someone who identifies as an Asian American who's Vietnamese Chinese, I I related to some of those things, but I definitely saw the huge um I think fracture when it came to how much the model minority myth really impacts Asian Americans and Asian communities outside of like our homeland. Um so much to the point where, yeah, there was a lot of posts being made, and similar to what Khan's roommate was saying about how, like, oh, black on black crime is, this is why they're in this position, and why, police brutality is a thing, like basically saying, like, victim blaming the black community for what was going on, and what people were trying to fight against
Yeah.
during those protests in 2020. Um, so yeah, um, it was definitely eye-opening for me, because it allowed me to dig deeper into, okay, what anti-blackness did my family grow up with, and what was passed down to me, and like, why is there such a huge population of other Asians spewing these ideals that are basically what has been fed to us by, by white people, and white supremacy. So yeah, it definitely is I feel like the model minority myth is pervasive. It shows up in so many different ways. Um, so yeah.
Mm. And I just want to clarify for those that are listening, when we do talk about white supremacy and whiteness, it's, we are talking about it as a construct, and it is a reality, but not necessarily on an individual level of like, this is, all white people, but it is a system that does benefit white folks, and specifically white men. um and we don't need to, get into that, but yeah, that's what we mean when we're
No.
talking about white people and whiteness. Like,
Mhm. Uh,
Yes.
Tini, I think that you might want to change your audio setting to the auto, what is it?
oh no.
What was it? Let me see, audio settings, background noise.
I'll resume. Yeah, let's get into it. So the question is, what can anyone do to unlearn these things and these stereotypes that we're talking about? Unlearn the model minority myth, or even other stereotypes of other races.
I think I think one of the biggest things is just to, like, be intentional in like unlearn this, like saying that, hey, I am, like, acknowledging that you have acknowledging that you believe in this, or acknowledging, or like we're into your own like perspectives, and see how some of like your viewpoints can be affected. This model minority myth, and then actively telling yourself that, hey, this is not what it is. Like, I've had
Like just that
some
self-awareness.
self-awareness. Yeah, self-awareness, I think is really important. I've talked to some people where I've actually mentioned the model minority myth, and they just like didn't know what it was. Like they didn't even know that they were having these thoughts. They were thinking, okay, Asian people are better than like Black or brown or indigenous people, but they didn't know that it was a thing. They didn't know there was a name to it. So being aware of this, being self-aware, and then also if you have the capacity, spread the knowledge and encourage other people to really think critically about systems of power and white supremacy and how that affects us as minorities, and just like don't they're not remind yourself that the people who came up with this myth, they're not on side. They created this myth because they wanted to divide the people who are minorities. So they're not creating that because they want to support us. They're creating that because they
It does
they
not
want
benefit
to
us.
fight. It doesn't benefit us. They want us to fight with other minorities, with other BIPOC people. Like yeah, self-awareness, and education, like spreading knowledge.
I think it is such an important part of unlearning is, of course, having that knowledge, but also sharing that knowledge because you can have all this knowledge, but what are you gonna do with it? And it's hard to challenge other folks. It's hard to ask these questions that are gonna make someone think, but I encourage you to do that or start with yourself and ask yourself these questions. And if you might be having thoughts that aren't real or based on an implicit bias, I've had to do that for myself in other ways. And I think we should all constantly be doing that.
Agreed.
That's
Definitely.
that's anti-racism, like in action.
Yeah. I agree with everything that y'all said. I've already mentioned sort of like the unpacking that I've did on my own. Definitely agree with like keeping and ensuring that we are having the conversations very similar to what conversations we're having today with each other. So, yeah, and I definitely appreciate what both of y'all have said when it comes to just uh taking a look at how these systems of power are created and how that impacts different marginalized communities. Um even to the level of uh back to what you were saying, Teeny, about like white supremacy being more of like a sort of this, I don't know, concept, but it's abstract concept rather than just on the individual person. I want to also say that like white supremacy impacts everyone of all different colors,
Mm,
and it
right.
gets to the point of like just trying to distract from classism. I think that's part of like connecting
Mm.
to that other point that you had, Jeannie, of like this is the whole point of the model minority myth is to distract different marginalized communities uh from the whole idea of like, hey, what capitalism and white supremacy keeps us in these boxes to exploit ourselves and to be used for our labor, not really have that class what is it, that class what's that word, oh my god, awareness, like awakening to like just the overall struggle that we all have to carry in, especially in the lived American experience. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just build community and continue to have those conversations for
Build
sure.
community with all types of people and I think that's also an important part of unpacking your biases and opening your mind to these ideas. And yeah, just meeting folks who on an individual level who can like just in their existence challenge those ideas. And um so if you can seek out those spaces and just come with an open mind and be willing to learn and unlearn. Unlearning is just as important as learning when it comes to anti-racism. Hmm.
Another point I wanted to add was I think that it's also important to stand with and advocate for other minority groups, because it obviously to it helps disrupt the idea of the model minority group because it doesn't see by actively uplifting other minority communities. We are not putting ourselves above them, I think, in a way. And also, even though we say that the model minority myth is not entirely beneficial to the Asian community, it in a way puts Asians on a pedestal, and that
Mhm.
puts Asian people on
sure.
a uh, on on top of
Yeah, we definitely get
like
benefits. Like we
yeah,
get
we
privilege
get
from it.
we get privilege from it as well. So just like doing the work, and instead of making other minority groups do the work,
Mhm.
just like supporting them and uplifting them, I think is really, really important.
Mhm. Let's just support each other on a human level.
Another,
And
yeah.
yeah, I hate that it like we have to sort of go back to this and like that's what we mean by deconstructing it because like on a real level like all this stuff about race and like trying to separate us doesn't really matter because we're all in a similar place and dealing with similar issues in a lot of ways on a human level and feel the same emotions. So I think it's important not to try to separate ourselves too much as well and understand the ideas and concepts that do separate us, like the model minority myth.
Mm.
Yeah. Sorry, Sharon, I know that you have to go, but I just want to add one more thing.
You're good.
Um,
Get after it.
yeah, thank you. I think that it's important for people to really challenge the idea that success has to mean money. I think that's it's such a big idea in the model minority myth and just in like Asian cultures in general that we see nowadays. But if you look back at indigenous cultures, indigenous communities, their goal in life is to exist and do art and create and be in nature. And so we can challenge the model minority myth through challenging capitalism and white supremacy in the way that we reshape the way we see success. You know, does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah.
Definitely. I think that
Mm.
sorry, one last thing.
Keep going,
uh
keep going.
uh so yes, definitely. That resonates with me a lot, especially as someone who was working in healthcare and then transitioned into the tech field because that was where the money was at. And then I realized, oh man, I really do not like being in the corporate space. It's so it's very white supremacy coded, very capitalism coded. So definitely, yeah, challenging those even challenging those aspects of what we were brought up to believe. And I also want to add to like the different aspects of erasure that Khan was talking about that uh, that is a result of the model minority myth, like honoring different parts of your identity that might not be covered under the model minority myth, whether that be your gender identity or your sexual orientation or
Yeah.
um
You're so much
yeah,
more than just like your race and like, yeah, how you're
yeah,
perceived.
and again, just finding different ways to dismantle those ideas of the model minority myth, like what you guys were saying. I know for me, that means slowing down, taking nature walks, going on picnics, and allowing myself to express myself creatively. And yeah, just wanted to thank you guys for holding the space for this conversation and for inspiring me. So yeah.
Hmm. I'm glad. Thank you all so much for being in this space. I really appreciate it. Um, yeah, I really loved the conversation that we had. So, any last words for folks to wrap it up? Maybe like a call to action. Let's do call to actions.
Call to action. Take care of yourselves.
Oh, that's a
Take
good
care of yourself.
one.
Stop with the grind. Hustle culture is not sustainable. Challenge the model minority myth by um, prioritizing yourself and your health and your happiness. And yeah, just enjoy life and stop thinking about how to make money or be is how you can fit in this box that the people in power have created.
Hmm.
I was gonna, yeah, just slow down. Just be okay with stillness. I feel like how we've all been brought up, for anyone who has lived the American experience, uh we've been taught to believe like, oh, we need to be constantly on the go. And even something as simple as just staying still and just allowing for silence to like be with you. I think that is so important. And for anyone who is interested in grounding techniques and breathing, check out that last podcast episode with me and Teeny. We did a breathing exercise, but yeah, just really hone in on that uh wellness and rest aspect of this work, of this liberation work. Yeah.
Mm. Wow, I love that. I truly do believe that rest is resistance. Um, so yes, I agree with everything that both of y'all said. I think it's important to embrace yourself and embrace the qualities that make you uniquely you. Invest in those things and those little joys. I think expression is so important when it comes to our happiness because the opposite of expression is depression. So do something for yourself. Like no matter what it looks like or your opinions are, give yourself a non-judgmental space to exist and do something and give yourself that mental space because we're talking a lot about reflecting and being self-aware and you really need that space for yourself to be able to do that. So yes, that is the show. Thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks for being here. Love you.
That was such a good conversation, and I know that if we had more time, we would like for hours about this.
Deep
We
into
was
it.
yapping.
Oh yeah. You give me a space, I'm a certified yapper, you know?